Hey, what is up guys? It's your boy Speed here, and today we're going to be looking at a Reddit post from Positive Pi. And basically this guy, he hit rock bottom. He's down over 1,000 MMR, and what I'm going to do today is I'm going to read through his post, go through some of the comments in this Reddit post, and then also give him very easy to follow simple suggestions that could potentially help his gameplay and enable him to get back to his glory days. So without further ado, let's read through the post, go through some of the comments, and then watch through some of his gameplay to give him a couple of suggestions that will hopefully help him have a better experience in solo queue. Also, I want to tell you guys that if you've been struggling with solo queue and you're looking to get to the next rank, I'm going to be able to help you. Like, literally, with the gameleap website, I'm going to give you guys guides that are going to make it unbelievably clear on what you need to do. So if you've been stuck in the solo queue grind, you don't know what to do, and you want to become absolutely broken, but like actually you want to become much better at Dota, and you want to take it more seriously, the gameleap website is going to help you do that. So click the link down below, I'm going to help you get to the next rank, and I'll see you there. Alright, so let's get into it. So he says, please guys, I need help. Tell me anything. I hit rock bottom. I'm off over 1,000 MMR from my peak, sitting at a win rate of 30% over almost 50 games. My games are a catastrophic chaos. I watch a lot of Dota, streams, YouTube, guides, majors, TIs, sometimes for fun, sometimes for education. I would say in theory, I know quite a bit about the game, but somehow I can't gather my skill. Yeah, it's tough. It is really tough. You know, applying Dota knowledge is quite difficult. I would say it's definitely the hard part. My teammates are trying to be the worst form of themselves. Well, I don't know about that, but which makes my games feel like a fever dream. I don't want to blame my teammates, but I am not skilled enough to carry 4 monkeys every game or to achieve a solid win rate. You know, it's tough. Solo queue's tough, I understand. It feels to me like I have to be 2k MMR above my bracket to safely carry a game, otherwise it's just pure luck. Well, actually, you know, funny enough, I actually believe this to be true. I think there's quite a lot of logic to this sentence that he just typed, which is, it feels like I have to be 2k above my bracket to safely carry a game, which is true. I mean, in a game where there is 4 teammates, you have to be so talented when there are so many random variables, right, that you can reliably carry the game. You really do have to be quite a bit better than your bracket. You know, it's hard for me to debate whether or not it should be 1 or 2 or 3,000 MMR higher, but you get the point. I think he's actually onto something here. Please help me or explain to me why I never get out of this bracket, because that's what it feels like, so I can just accept it and leave the game. Dota buff for obvious reasons, so we will check out his Dota buff in a bit, but let's quickly read 1 or 2 of the comments. Expert Consideration says, to be honest, if you look at your play history, it looks like you haven't been playing well since 7.28 late 2020. The majority of your MMR was way back in 7.29, 7.30, 7.31. Your history shows huge gaps in playtime, which tells me you're not understanding the meta. This could definitely be the case. I think taking long breaks in Dota, a game that's constantly changing where the players are constantly getting better, if you take large breaks, it's going to be very hard for you to keep your MMR up. In fact, you most certainly will drop MMR if you're taking big gaps. I just think it's almost inevitable unless you're some genetical exception. Alright, so long story short, Dota is an immensely complicated game, absolutely true, filled with tryhard players, absolutely true, and you can't just stop playing for 6 months and expect to come back at the same level. Yeah, I think this guy's right, because it does seem to be that is the case, but either way, we'll still look at his gameplay and look for gameplay issues. And the one other comment I will read before we move on is from Richard Degene, who says, and in quotes, I don't want to blame my teammates. 4 monkeys every game. This is in reference to the original post. Checks out. And to be honest, this was my biggest concern of the post as well. To be perfectly honest, I think if you believe that your teammates suck and you're taking long breaks and not consistently playing, it is basically a guarantee that you will not gain MMR. I think it is essentially guaranteed, and I'm sure a lot of you guys would agree with that. But alright, let's check out some of his games and look for some gameplay issues that are unrelated to mentality. Alright, and briefly, I honestly wasn't planning on doing this, but briefly before going into the gameplay, I wanted to look at his recent matches, which are very red, but we have a kind of a weird story, a story that even makes me a little bit concerned. I hope it's not the case, or my thought isn't the case, but it kind of looks like maybe he paid for someone to boost his account. It's just so suspect. It's like he's losing all of his matches, and then he abandons 18 minutes in. I mean, maybe it could have been, an internet problem. I don't know, obviously. So I guess we shouldn't assume the worst, but it's a bit hard not to assume the worst based on the circumstances beforehand. And then all of a sudden, my man is going 21-2 and 11-2. So we're going to be watching the PL game here today. We're going to see what he does right and wrong, and then give him some pieces of advice, and let's get into it. Alright, so let's start with the laning stage. I have two things I want to just basically give him that he can immediately fix in the lane to make himself a better player. So I have a feeling after this recent PL success, HumbleDog might play more PL. Also, his name is... I don't know what's going on, man, in your real life. I just hope things get better. Maybe it's just Dota? Either way, let's focus on Dota. Alright, so the main two things that I want to cover here is number one, regen. I will keep it very straightforward and simple as I want to focus more on the mid to late game, but you have purchased throughout a very difficult lane. Lion Viper is horrible for PL. It's not good, okay? You purchased only one set of tangos. This frankly doesn't work, okay? You are playing one of the worst laners in Dota, and you only have purchased one set of tangos. To keep it very simple, if you want to have better games, you need to enable yourself. You cannot rely on your supports to buy you salves. That has changed. That meta has changed. Salves have been brutally nerfed. You cannot get away with, in almost any lane, one set of tangos. It frankly does not work. And honestly, I will give him a bit of credit here. I think his last inning is quite good. I like his starting item build. I think Stick against Viper isn't necessarily the best, but it's good against Lions, so I'm fine with that. But I honestly would have liked to see him rush either a Ring of Health or at least pick up a salve right away. And the second thing I want to cover about this lane is what do we see about the laning stage here, guys? Who is he laning against? A Viper, right? It kind of shows to me that he doesn't really think much about his laning matchup, and the reason why is he's against a lane dominator who puts a lot of pressure, right? A hero that trades extremely well, and a hero with a dispellable ability. Phantom Lancer literally has an ability that enables you to dispel, and he's against a kill lane, which Doppelganger is also good against, right? Kill lanes, and he doesn't skill it at all, right? He's level 3 with no point in it. Why would you want to put a lot of points in Phantom Rush when you can't even Phantom Rush at people, right? It just doesn't work out. And you're gonna see here, for instance, right here, he has no regen now, and he gets 5 stacks of poison built up on him, and he can't purge it. And finally, one more thing that I will briefly cover, just for all you carry players, you are going to have brutal lanes if you pick these greedy carry heroes, and that's okay. But it is a very important skill that you learn when you are in bad lanes. You have to identify when you are not in a aggressive lane to pull aggro constantly. It is as simple as that. If you are not constantly pulling aggro, you are going to have a bad lane. This Lion should stun you here. What in the world? Why does he only have 5 tangos and 900 gold? Doesn't matter. You should get stunned here into a bunch of auto attacks. You have to constantly pull the lane back to avoid unnecessary damage. Alright, so let's move on to the mid game, and I've actually watched the entire game at this point, and honestly I will say that this player, HumbleDog in particular, is actually pretty good at farming. The only thing is, when it comes into the mid to late game, his farming falls off a cliff. He's really, really good, and by the way, this is going to apply to a lot of you guys who are watching, so really hear me out on this, and try not to say, oh, this doesn't apply to me because I'm better than this guy, or whatever. Right, also, I think I didn't mention, but this is also at Herald level, so everything you're going to see here is honestly, in my opinion, better than what I would have expected for Herald. But a couple things getting into it. Number one, the skill build is definitely outdated, so I would change that. But I really like his farming patterns. He does a good job of taking the top side of the map when the enemy team is farming bottom, and just using the space that his team has given him. And so honestly, for the first 15 minutes, outside of the fact that he had a pretty bad lane, and so his CS was kind of low, his general farming pattern is solid. Is it perfect? No, but it's definitely good enough to win Herald games, so let's move on to an actual mistake. So honestly, this was probably my favorite clip of the game from him, but we're going to see a big mistake come up that is, I would say, pretty easily avoidable and will change the course of the game if you simply avoid this death. So he's farming the Ancients here. Okay, no problem. He was farming topside for the first 15 minutes, which I love, considering he didn't get kicked out. And so by him not TPing, it enabled his team to farm multiple lanes at the same time. And that's what you want to do as a farming hero like PL. It's very, very good. Now, he's going to shift to the bottom side, which I was cool with. The Ursa went to the top side. He didn't want to take the Ursus farm. I like this. I think it's solid, right? Really, I have no problems here. He's farming the bottom side of the map. Sounds good to me, right? He saw a bunch of heroes top. The Spirit Breaker's dead. Things are looking good. Now, he's about to get charged, and honestly, this is where things get a little bit suspect, because frankly, he's about to push up to a tier 2 with somewhat limited vision of the enemy, okay? He doesn't end up dying here, but I will say that it is a little bit suspect. He has very, very little information on the map, and yet he's gonna go for a wave next to their tower. You guys as carry players need to be very careful about this habit, right? This isn't what's gonna kill him, but this is the start of something big. This is a big, big issue for a lot of you guys. Right, he's gonna go for this wave. It's clearly extremely risky. Only saw the Earthshaker in the last 2 minutes, besides the Viper who briefly showed top, right? And okay, he's not gonna end up dying, but he dives a Spirit Breaker. Okay, obviously, all of you guys watching are gonna be like, this is pretty bad. This is really risky, but he doesn't even die here, okay? He doesn't even die here. He's gonna move on, gonna go to the top side. Now, we know Lion's here, because he just went on him. We know Spirit Breaker's here, and if we're looking at the map, we know Viper's here. So we know they're here, and his whole team is top, which means he has to be defensive. Now, this is where Dota is honestly a very complex but simple game. It's complex because you have to be keeping track of so many variables at the same time. It's easy for me to do this when I'm pausing the game, I'm explaining what's happening, right? It's pretty obvious what he needs to do. He needs to back, maybe farm this camp and this camp, and go to his triangle and relax. He needs to relax and play defensive until he has information of the enemy team going top. But he doesn't do that, right? And he definitely knew they were here. There's no argument to say that he didn't, considering they literally went on him. And while you might argue, oh, he didn't know they would run at him here, I mean, I don't think that's a fair argument. At the end of the day, they literally just tried to kill him. And on top of that, what even more of a dead giveaway that they might be trying to kill him is, does anyone farm the bottom wave? Yes or no, guys? This is a big tip to teach you guys whether or not you're getting ganked. Does anyone farm the bottom wave? Yes or no? No. So if no one farms the bottom wave, what do you think is going on inside their heads? Kill somebody! Because you know how Dota players work, especially players that frankly aren't the best. I'm gonna keep it real, I'm a little bit harsh here, but it's Herald we're talking about. Players that aren't the best, and this applies all the way up to 8, 9k MMR. This is a habit that persists through every Dota player, but becomes more obvious the lower you go. If they don't farm a creep wave, they probably see a hero. You are the hero. You know, he's the hero. And it's true, they had a ward, right? So he dies because of a ward. But he knew they were here and no one farmed the bot wave. This death is completely avoidable, and it obviously delays his timings, and that's of course an issue for the carry role. All right, and finally, and last but not least, hopefully this has really helped a lot of you guys. If Hummeldog is watching, hopefully you don't take this video as a hate piece in any way. I really am saying everything here to hopefully help you to become the best possible player that you can be and, you know, win some solo queue. But either way, the last thing I want to cover, and this happens to a lot of players. So a lot of carry players, they know to farm early game. But what happens is, and this is very common in every bracket, including very, very high MMR. What ends up happening is you feel like you hit your timings. For instance, he's hit his, you know, level 20 timing. He almost has a completed heart. He's got a Sanj and Yasha. He's at the point in the game where PL is a pretty strong hero, right? But is PL at his peak? No, not necessarily. And it doesn't mean you can't fight, right? This is not what I'm about to say. I'll explain what I'm going to get to, but it doesn't mean I don't want him to fight. But you'll see in this upcoming clip here, and I want to play this from 20 seconds back. He gets gone on, gets an Earthshaker kill. Okay, right. His Ursa's farming the topside jungle. All right, fine. So what he ends up doing is he actually ends up taking some camps. Now, he only has 1,000 HP right now, which is a bit low. And so what we're going to see is kind of what I don't love, which is he sort of like runs to the bottom side of the map. Now, the issue with this play in my head is he doesn't know where anyone is, right? He's about to run into a lion and I think he kills him. But the problem with this play is like, why is he here? He doesn't really need to push this bottom tower, right? I mean, especially in pubs, guys, like you don't need to take these towers. When you have Aegis, yeah, I mean, I can make a whole nother video on this subject. There's really too much to talk about here. But my issue with this play is he's just not taking the space. And you might be like, Speed, but he's strong. He should kill this lion. You know, he's making plays. You're missing the point. You're missing the point. He's incredibly close to heart. He's half HP. Yes, the enemy team is dead, but they're not dead for that long. And the reason why I'm saying this is he could literally farm 30% of the map alone. Why wouldn't you do that? You're playing Phantom Lancer, right? He could go even solo kill this SF if he had a dust, right? So he could have farmed 30% of the map. And this is not the only time this is going to happen in this game. If we watched from minute 20 until basically the end of the match, it's not that he never hits creeps. For instance here, oh, actually he does chase this SF, which is a bit questionable considering the guy has a Shadow Blade, right? But he's sort of just not hitting creeps. You're playing Phantom Lancer, not Bounty Hunter, and you're just wasting time. Does that make sense, right? Every second counts, and when you're playing a scaling hero, it's not that you don't hunt kills, but to really round up this point and make it as simple as I can, you want kills to align with your farming patterns as much as humanly possible in the carry role. If you find yourself just running in random areas and not hitting creep camps or only hitting one creep camp a minute as a late game Phantom Lancer, you're not going to get to the highest of brackets. In fact, you might not even be able to get to 2K or 3K because players have become a lot better over time. For instance, one more time even here, the closest camp to him is either the triangle or this left side camp. And he kind of does this weird rotation to nothing, right? And this is what I mean. It's simply inefficient. His movements need to be a lot more direct. And I assure you guys, if you're watching, please, I beg all of you watching, don't assume that this is because he's Herald. All of you are doing this. I do this from time to time. And I know that sounds, braggadocious or whatever the word is. I just want you guys to be as good as you can. You need to go to the closest camp unless there is a very clear play that is better than that. For instance, you're the plus one who's going to kill a 10-streak alchemist, or you need to show up to get a kill that's very clearly there. Fine. But once again, there's a camp right next to him and he just runs top. And it's just like his Ursa's already dead. It's clearly just an Ursa feed play. Maybe it's not that clear, but Ursa's just feeding. Just get to your next timing. Work towards this shard. Work towards your 23, 24, 25 talent. And you're going to do a lot better because this rotation, these farming rotations, just make no sense. And hopefully that helps you guys a lot. I really want you to understand that, Dota's a complex game. And hopefully for Humble Dog, this gives him some inspiration to try to fix these couple of things. I wanted to give him some very clear points, and hopefully he feels like I've done that, and hopefully you guys can learn from this as well. I'll see you in the next one, and I'm out. Peace!
And that's all, but remember, before you leave, before you tune out, subscribe to the GameLeap website, where we are going to help you get to the next rank. If you're stuck, click the link down below, and I'm out. Peace!